Darren McAntony, fascinating football club owner and Liverpool fan. So let's get your thoughts on this. Firstly, reading between the lines there, if an apology does come in this meeting, which we'd both love to be a fly on the wall in this morning between Mo Salah and Arne Slot, if that apology comes, do you think that's enough for Mo Salah to feature in some capacity or at least be on the bench against Brighton tomorrow?
Yeah, that comes down to the manager and trust. In other words, I'll accept the apology, I'll put you back in the squad, but if I don't bring you on the pitch, are you going to behave the same way after the game or say anything when you go off to the AFCON Nations Cup? So that's going to come down to how that conversation, happens today, what comes out from the conversation. He's handling it the right way. I like how Slot is. He's very calm. He's very measured. He's a man in control of his football club, even though they haven't had a great start to the season. If I'm in that room, I'm the manager. I am saying to Mo Salah today, what were you thinking? What was running through your mind? What were you hoping to achieve from what you did? And how did you help us as a club, me as a manager, your teammates, by what you did in the media zone? And wait for the response. If the response is quiet, if the response isn't, apologetic, if I don't see any, what's the right word I'm looking for? If I don't see any, I've lost for words now. If Mo Salah sits there basically and says, look, I've made a mistake.
Yeah.
I want to play for this club. I shouldn't have done what I did, blah, 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 blah. You take the apology, you move on. You reintegrate him back into the squad. You let him be there tomorrow. You let his family say goodbye, and you try and move on as quickly as you can.
You want to see that sincerity.
Right. If Mo Salah sits there and says nothing and basically shows no apology whatsoever, I think we're at a stage now where you move past Mo Salah. I think Liverpool have to anyway. In the next two windows, that is a weakness in the squad. That's an area they have to strengthen. At some stage, we all have to move past legends. We just want to make sure they don't kill their legacies with our football club.
It could get a lot more toxic than it is right now, couldn't it? And I don't think, and let's get inside that heart of yours, Mr. McAntony.
Yeah.
If the Liverpool fan...
I love Mo Salah as a player.
They don't want to see a legend fade away like this into nasty, turn into a cesspit.
100%. And that's the worst thing that can happen. Toxicity spreads very quickly. And it was great they won the other night. That was really important because you imagine if they hadn't, then they would be focused on the results again and the manager and the pressure. Look, a club that large usually knows how to keep things in-house and take care of business. If it was happening in my football club, I'd back my manager all the way, even if my manager wasn't winning games, because, no player is bigger than the football club. And as legendary as Mo Salah is, and we've had some wonderful moments, again, Liverpool, it's an institution as a club. It's bigger than every manager it's had. It's bigger than every player it's had. And at some stage, what's going on in the press isn't healthy for business. It's not good for the football.
Well, I was about to ask you that. These comments, and if there are more to come. In your scenario, say he's on the bench and doesn't get off against Brighton, and I
don't trust his agent, and I don't trust him.
Is he devaluing himself in terms of the January window?
Forget the finances in it. I think as Liverpool owners, the people there, forget about the finances. Whether you're getting 50 million from Saudi or 25 million, it's not about the finances. It's about everything else. It's about the squad, the manager. Getting back on a good run, making sure we're in the second half of the season, basically up the top of the table in the Champions League, but also replacing them eventually. It was always going to have to happen. Mo Salah can't defeat Father Time. Nobody ever has, even the greatest players in the world. So at some stage, he was going to leave. So it's a question of now, how is that departure going to be determined? What is history going to look back on and go, Mo Salah said goodbye at Anfield, scored in his final game, family waved to the crowd, or Mo Salah left under a cloud and hurt his legacy because of this. So that's really a choice for Mo Salah and his agent.
And what was your take of the pictures of him and Jordan Henderson? Like, I get on the surface of it, it's friend meets friend in a restaurant, potentially on a day off on Wednesday afternoon in London. But then when you look at, Jordan Henderson, he's obviously played in Saudi Arabia. Do you think that's premeditated from the Salah camp?
Jordan Henderson,
good look?
I don't think Jordan Henderson sat there talking about Saudi Arabia, and particularly not a player who basically left as quick as he got there. So I don't think he's really encouraging Mo Salah to go to Saudi. Jordan Henderson was such a great captain and leader at Liverpool. I would hope he was sat there pulling Mo Salah up on his behaviour and what he's done at that. Because if Jordan Henderson was captain of Liverpool, I'm not sure that would have happened. Are you? I'm not sure that would have all come out. I'm not sure Mo Salah would have walked into that media, the mix zone, and said all those things. So, good captains, and I think he basically was having a word with Mo and saying, my advice to you would be, sit with a manager, spill your guts, apologise, show contrition and move on.
Right, we will move on, but we will keep talking about Liverpool, that is for sure. Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan the QR code right here or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. And we can speak now to a Liverpool supporter by the name of Connor Ray. Connor, a very good morning to you. So what's your take on this, Connor? Has Slot managed the media well this morning? And do you think that Mo Salah will be in that squad for the Brighton game tomorrow, Connor?
I mean, I think if he isn't, I'll be honest, I think if he isn't in the squad, I think it's been mismanaged. I think if you, as a manager, can't find a way around talking to a player to bring him around. Mo Salah gave his interview, right? And okay, I'm not for a second in any sense going to sit here and I'm not going to defend the manner in which he went about what he did. It was wrong, it was petty, it was childish, it was unprofessional. All those things are absolutely true. But the lad came out and said he wants to play football. He's one of the best players we've ever had. He's in the top 3, top 5 best ever Liverpool player debate. He's 4th top scorer in the Premier League. He's 4th in the Ballon d'Or as it stands. He had one of the best individual seasons we've ever seen last season. You don't drop off that much in 3-6 months as he has. The lad came and gave an interview and said he wants to play football. If the manager can't find a way to sit down with him and go, okay, well, let's find a way to let categorically the best player in the team play football, then it's been badly managed for me.
Connor, how long do you allow history, allow a player's behaviour go on like that? Because I understand all the things you're talking about, but we're talking about in the past tense. And no, he's not been the best player this season for Liverpool. Yes, he was the best player last year, but he's been nowhere near the best player this year. So, and I get, as fans, we get emotional about certain players, and you say he should be in the squad this weekend. Well, the squad went away, they went to Italy, they won in a tough place. We're under a serious amount of pressure, serious distraction going on. And now you want to bring that whole party to the Brighton game, where Liverpool have been poor at Anfield the last few games, where the cameras are going to be on him, his family, the boxes. Would you not rather focus on winning and getting 3 important points this weekend and worrying about Mo Salah when he comes back from the AFCON Cup?
Yeah, look, the results are the most important thing, of course, and getting 3 points has to be the priority. You're absolutely right, Dara. But again, I say if the manager can't do that, and if the manager doesn't want to be able to do that by having the best players available to him, then I'm not sure what his aim is here. Like, that's we can talk about Salah's history. Yes, Salah hasn't been the best player this season. I absolutely agree with that as well. But he also hasn't been the worst, and that was part of what Salah said in his interview as well, right? Was
without a doubt.
Like if he feels he's being scapegoated, and again I'm going to say, like, he shouldn't have said it. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, and this shouldn't have come up. Just to reiterate, but part of what he said was he felt scapegoated, right? And that again falls at Slot's door, right? If Gakpo and Konate and Kerkez and other players who have been in far, far, far worse form this season than Salah are still getting played week in, week out. Salah can play in Gakpo's position, and there's no reason he shouldn't have been. The last couple of weeks, really. We're looking at kind of dropping players on form, which is how this all got started in the first place. Salah was wrong to come out and say what he said, but if he'd gone to Slot privately and said it, then I think he's justified in what he said. The content of what he said is true for the most part.
What do you think, Connor, is the best outcome from now? Because I take your point. You don't want to see this legacy tainted even more than it has been over the last few weeks. If a Saudi club came in and offered you, let's just say, number out the sky, £50 million for Mo Salah, and obviously you're saving a hell of a lot of money from the money they gave him for this 2-year contract, and you could get someone like a Semenyo in, right, who has a release clause for £65 million. I put